One record, countless failed attempts, and one unbelievable performance that shattered the impossible. Because this historic moment, stay until the end.
One record, one impossible challenge, and one baseball superstar who made the entire world question what was truly possible. For decades, experts believed this record would never be broken. Not because athletes weren't talented, but because no single player could master both sides of baseball at the highest level. Until Shohei Ohtani arrived. The night began like any other. Thousands of fans poured into the stadium wearing Ohtani jerseys. Television crews prepared for another exciting game. Commentators discussed statistics. Analysts predicted another solid performance. But nobody, not even his biggest supporters, expected history to unfold before their eyes. Across the field stood one of baseball's toughest teams. Their pitchers ranked among the league's best. Their defense had frustrated the biggest stars in Major League Baseball. Everything suggested this would be an ordinary battle. Instead, it became one of the greatest nights baseball had ever witnessed. Long before the first pitch, the cameras followed Ohtani everywhere. He quietly stretched near the dugout. He practiced his swing. He threw warm-up pitches with calm confidence. There was no sign of pressure, no sign of nerves, only complete focus. Fans sensed something special. The atmosphere inside the stadium felt different. Children held signs reading, "Make history tonight." No one realized how accurate those words would become. The first inning began. Ohtani stepped into the batter's box. The opposing pitcher smiled confidently. He knew exactly how dangerous Ohtani could be. The first pitch, a blazing fastball. Strike one. The second pitch, a nasty slider. Swing and miss. Suddenly, Ohtani was behind. Many fans grew nervous. Social media immediately filled with comments. Maybe tonight isn't his night. But great players never panic. They adapt. The pitcher threw another fastball. This time, Ohtani connected perfectly. Crack. The sound echoed across the stadium. The baseball launched into the night sky like a rocket. The outfielders didn't even move. They simply watched. The baseball disappeared over the center field wall. Home run. The stadium exploded. Fans jumped from their seats. The commentators screamed. The replay looked almost unbelievable. One swing. One historic moment. But the most incredible part hadn't happened yet. As the game continued, Ohtani wasn't finished making history. He wasn't just dominating with the bat. He was preparing to dominate from the mound as well. That combination was exactly why baseball had never seen another player like him. Every inning pushed him closer to a record that many experts believed would survive forever. With every strikeout, the excitement grew. With every powerful swing, the crowd became louder. Television graphics began showing numbers rarely seen together. Elite home runs, elite pitching, elite speed, all from the same player. Commentators could barely believe the statistics appearing on their screens. Former MLB legends watching from home admitted they had never witnessed anything like this. The baseball world slowly realized they weren't simply watching another game. They were watching history. And the biggest moment was still waiting. The pressure continued to rise. Every inning, every pitch, every swing brought the baseball world one step closer to witnessing history. The crowd no longer cared about the score. They were watching something much bigger than a regular game. They were watching a record that experts had called impossible. As the game entered the middle innings, the opposing hitters became more aggressive. They knew they had to stop the momentum. The first batter attacked the very first pitch. A line drive screamed toward left field. The crowd gasped, but an incredible diving catch stole what looked like a certain hit. The stadium erupted once again. Now, the pressure shifted back to the pitcher. He took a deep breath. The next batter stepped into the box. 3 pitches later. Strike 3. Another hitter walked back to the dugout in disbelief. The scoreboard continued to tell an unbelievable story. Strikeout after strikeout. Hit after hit. The numbers kept growing. Television broadcasters stopped talking about the game. Instead, they focused entirely on the history unfolding before their eyes. Fans around the world flooded social media. Are we really watching this? This has never happened before. He's changing baseball forever. Millions tuned in. Even people who rarely watched baseball suddenly wanted to witness the moment. The stadium became louder with every inning. Children climbed onto their parents' shoulders. Veteran fans removed their caps in respect. Even the opposing team's supporters couldn't hide their admiration. Because greatness is impossible to ignore. Then came the seventh inning. The stadium lights seemed brighter. The tension became unbearable. Every fan stood. Nobody wanted to blink. One swing, one pitch, could decide everything. The next batter represented the tying run. He had already collected 2 hits earlier in the game. The count reached full. 3 balls.
2 strikes.
The entire stadium fell silent. The pitcher nodded. He delivered one final pitch. A devastating splitter. The batter swung with everything he had. Nothing but air. Strike 3. The stadium exploded. Commentators shouted louder than ever. History is almost here. The cameras immediately focused on the scoreboard. The historic numbers flashed across giant screens. Fans pulled out their phones. Everyone wanted proof that they had witnessed this unbelievable night. But the biggest moment still hadn't arrived.
Then,
the moment finally arrived. The game entered the 9th inning. The scoreboard displayed numbers that nobody believed they would ever see together. Elite pitching, elite hitting, an unforgettable performance. The crowd stood as one. Nobody sat down. Nobody looked away. Every camera inside the stadium focused on the baseball diamond. The next few minutes would become part of MLB history. The final batter stepped into the box. He knew exactly what was at stake. One mistake, one perfect swing, could erase history forever. The first pitch, a blazing fastball. Strike 1. The crowd roared. The second pitch, a devastating splitter. Swing and miss. Strike 2. Now the entire stadium was shaking. Fans began chanting louder and louder. The pressure had reached its highest point. The batter stepped out of the box. He took a deep breath. He knew what everyone else already knew. History was only one pitch away. The pitcher stood on the mound. He looked toward home plate. He nodded. The catcher gave the signal. Everything became silent. For one brief second, you could hear nothing except the wind. Then, the final pitch exploded toward home plate. The batter swung with everything he had.
Crack.
The baseball shot high into the air. Thousands of eyes followed it. For a split second, nobody knew what would happen. The outfielder sprinted backward. Closer, closer. He reached the warning track. Leaped into the air. The stadium froze. Then, the glove closed around the baseball.
Out.
History had been made. The stadium erupted into absolute chaos. Fireworks exploded above the field. Teammates rushed onto the diamond. Fans screamed with joy. Some were crying. Others simply stood in disbelief. Commentators shouted, "We have just witnessed one of the greatest performances in Major League Baseball history." Within minutes, every sports network around the world carried the highlights. Social media exploded. Millions of fans watched the clips again and again. Former MLB legends praised the incredible achievement. Baseball analysts called it a once-in-a-generation performance. Young athletes suddenly had a new dream: to prove that limits exist only to be broken. Because records are not meant to last forever. They wait for someone extraordinary enough to rewrite history. And on that unforgettable night, baseball witnessed exactly that. A performance that inspired millions. A record that shocked the entire world. And a moment that will forever be remembered as one of the greatest chapters in Major League Baseball history. Thank you for watching Diamond Shocked. If you enjoyed this incredible baseball story, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unbelievable MLB stories, legendary records, shocking moments, and untold baseball history. See you in the next episode of Diamond Shocked.